Welcome to our nutrition talk today, where we're going to be talking about all things sugar and sweets. Our nutrition program, as some of you already know, is powered by Healthy Steps Nutrition. At Healthy Steps Nutrition, we believe something as fundamental as nutrition should not be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple, habit-based approach to help you reach your goals one step at a time. Our nutrition program is backed by Healthy Steps Nutrition, who has helped over 40,000 people all around the world take control of their health. As you can see, there are some familiar dun-dun faces included in that group. We know that while this is simple, it is far from easy. But just like these successful people, you will find your own success one step at a time. Many studies show that a high consumption of sugar is associated with inflammation and many chronic diseases. All cells in our body, including cancer cells, need sugar or glucose for energy. Some diseases that are directly related to sugar consumption include things like diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease. Obesity is also strongly correlated with sugar consumption and can account for at least 13 types of cancer, including breast cancer, liver cancer, and colon cancer. Did you know that the average American eats or drinks over 500 calories of sugar in a day? That's about 36 teaspoons. In a given year, Americans are consuming over 150 pounds of sugar. According to the USDA, in 1822, the average American ate in 5 days the amount of sugar found in one of today's 12-ounce sodas. Now we eat that much every 7 hours. It makes sense that the prevalence of obesity in 2017 to 2018 was 42.4% for adults and 19.3% in children and adolescents. It's also clear that we are still seeing these changes in numbers increase yearly. The risk factors associated with high consumption of sugar may have shocked you, or maybe it was the amount of sugar that made your jaw drop. You may be wondering, how in the world? Think about the last time you had a sweet treat that turned into a few more innocent handfuls, or that one cookie that all of a sudden turned into a whole sleeve of cookies. We've all been there. In fact, we've helped many of our nutrition clients navigate the sugar in their life in a mindful way. There becomes this negative feedback loop where restricting the sweet foods to having just one, then feeling guilty, and then over-consuming or going overboard. And it happens kind of circular like that. We've all been there, but why do we struggle so much to stay mindful? Have you ever heard that sugar is addictive? Addiction is a craving for a specific substance that involves continuous use, which becomes hazardous to your well-being, according to the FDA. Let me put it in these terms. A study that took place at the University of Minnesota found that sugary foods cause a similar effect on our brain chemicals when compared to those on drugs. This is where the phrase, sugar is more addicting than cocaine, comes in. So now we know how much the average person is consuming. Why is it so easy to consume that amount when it's considered addictive and the negative effects it has on our health? But you may be wondering, how much is 34 teaspoons? Is that a lot? The AHA recommends no more than 24 grams of added sugar for women and 36 grams for men each day. That's about 6 and 9 tablespoons of sugar, respectively. So the average American is consuming nearly 6 times the recommended limit for sugar in a given day. But we aren't likely to sit around and eat sugar cubes all day. So how are we over-consuming all this sugar? Sugar can be really sneaky. Sometimes sugar can hide in different types of foods without us being aware. Let's take a look at the 3 most common foods with hidden sugars. Number 1, convenience breakfast foods such as oatmeal packets, Pop-Tarts, yogurts, and cereal. Let's break it down even further. Single-serving oatmeal packets contain 11 to 15 grams of sugar per packet, and sugar is the second ingredient. Pop-Tarts. One package of 2 pastries contains 30 grams of sugar, 29 grams of which is added sugar. Trix cotton candy yogurt has 14 grams of sugar per serving. Popular breakfast cereals have an average of 10 grams per 3/4 cup, And I don't know about you, but when was the last time you had just 3/4 of a cup of cereal? Number 2, easy grab and go snacks. Think about those pantry foods. Things like trail mix, granola bars, packaged pastries, and even protein bars. Some things that we might even consider quote unquote healthy, right? Trail mix that is often marketed as heart healthy contains 10 grams of sugar. Packaged pastries like Little Debbie Swiss rolls contain 27 grams of sugar for one package, or 2 swill roll pastries. A typical granola bar, such as the Nutri-Grain cereal bar, contains 12 grams of sugar, and that Quaker Chewy Dip chocolate chip granola bar in all of our kids' lunch has 13 grams. Lastly, in this category of grab snacks is protein bars. Not all protein bars are as healthy as you may think. Some bars have over 19.5 grams of sugar, which is more than a Krispy Kreme donut with 12.6 grams of sugar. I'm just going to let that sink in for a second. And lastly, we have our beverages. Beverages have been a big topic of conversation when discussing the obesity epidemic. Here are a few shocking sugar-packed beverages. Nesquik fat-free chocolate milk has 54 grams of sugar. Minute Maid lemonade has about 29 grams of sugar. Snapple iced tea has 46 to 50 grams of sugar, depending on the flavor. A 12-ounce Coke has 39 grams of sugar. And lastly, flavored creamers have about 6 grams of sugar per tablespoon, which can add up very quickly if you just pour it into coffee or have several cups per day. Think about the beverages, quick snacks, and breakfast you and your family have had in the last week. You can see how quickly it all adds up. Okay, let's take a second to breathe after that. It's true that sugar is hidden everywhere. So what can we do about it? How can we decrease our sugar consumption to improve our health? Know what's in your food. You can do this by learning how to read a nutrition facts label. The new nutrition facts labels make it very easy to identify how much sugar is quote unquote natural and how much sugar is added to a packaged food. Make sure you read the nutrition facts and ingredients labels to know exactly what you're putting in your body. Once you start looking, you'll be surprised. Remember, when looking at the ingredients label, the first thing listed is the most abundant than any other ingredient in that food product. So where do we start? First, we want to check out the serving information found at the top. For single-serve bottles, cans, or packaged snacks, odds are the label will be for the entire food or beverage in your hand. However, if you're getting something from a larger container, it will be helpful to understand the serving size. But really, even for some of those smaller packages, pay attention to the serving size because some of them are still like 1.5, 2, or 3 servings. To find the sugars, we need to look under the total carbohydrate section, where you will usually find the dietary fiber, total sugars, and added sugars. Just a reminder, added sugars are added into foods or beverages, usually for taste and or shelf life. So for example, something like a spaghetti sauce is going to have sugar because tomatoes can have natural sugar in it, right? So you're never going to find a spaghetti sauce that doesn't have any sugar, but you're going to want to be on the lookout for those added sugars because many of them contain added sugars for that extra sweetness. To search further, you can bring your eyes down into the ingredient list. There are estimated now to be about 60 different names for sugars on food labels. So look for things that say sugar, end in ose, such as fructose or sucralose, or have syrup in their name. Now that we're aware of the sneaky sugar and how to find them, let's dive into 3 tips to enjoy sweet treats mindfully. Because let's face it, it's that time of year where we're going to want to have a sweet treat, and we don't want to totally take them all the way out of your diet and feed that deprivation mindset, right? So number 1, let's use some sugar alternatives. There are many different names for sugar, as we discussed, and while some are marketed as healthier, they all contain glucose, which cause an inflammatory response in the body. For instance, honey, maple syrup, and agave all contain grams of sugar. Here are 3 substitutes to use in the kitchen that will sweeten up your foods without providing excess sugar. Number 1 is cinnamon. Cinnamon hits the same taste buds without adding any extra grams of sugar. Add it to your protein pancakes, muffins, or even in your coffee. Next, we have unsweetened shredded coconut. This is great to add to your energy balls or sprinkle in your oatmeal, which will also give you a little bit of extra fat. And then lastly, we have fruit puree. It's great for baking. There's no sugar added in purees and will give baking that sweet taste and help moisten the baked goods as well. Tip number 2, never eat carbs alone. When we eat meals and snacks that are not balanced with the protein, carb, and fat, we're more likely to spike up our blood sugar. When we pair protein and fat with our carb or sugar sources, we will feel fuller for longer, and slower the digestion process of fat and protein allows for better glucose management overall. Instead of eating that packaged oatmeal alone, which we know is packed with sugar, find a lower sugar option and consider adding a hard-boiled egg on the side. Protein powder with a little peanut butter in the oatmeal, or even a Greek yogurt for better balance. Last tip, number 3, is to stay mindful about your portions. We are allowed and should incorporate our favorite sweet treats, but we should do so in a mindful portion. Find that balanced mindset that allows you to enjoy the cookie, but then move on instead of eating the entire sleeve. This takes time and practice, but here are a few things you can do to help you stay mindful. Number 1, eat balanced meals throughout the day to keep you from ever feeling too hungry. Number 2, portion out the snack instead of eating right from the container or package. Number 3, take time to enjoy your treat by putting your fork or spoon down between bites. And number 4, after consuming the treat, wash out your mouth by maybe having a sip of water or even going and brushing your teeth. For more great information on the sugar we consume and how it affects our overall health and wellness, be sure to tune in to the Nutrition Made Simple podcast, episode 15, with Nicole and Josh, where they talk about continuous glucose monitoring and fight chronic disease with Levels Health. At this point, I hope you've learned a few things about sneaky sugar and how to stay mindful. But you may also be wondering about some more tips that have helped those 40,000 people reach their health and wellness goals. With all of the misinformation out there, we know this can feel overwhelming. To start building your foundation, here are the HSN principles that have helped make so many people take control of their health, one habit at a time. Number 1, add more whole foods into your diet. So instead of thinking about what we can't have and choosing to harp on that, let's focus on what we can add in. So start choosing whole food options and less processed foods packaged that have sodium, fat, and sugar. A simple way to start this is kind of by reshaping your plate with the plate method. Some of you might already be familiar with this. But we really want half of our plate to be full of non-starchy veggies. Then we want a quarter of our plate to be full of lean proteins. And then the last quarter of our plate with those starchy carbs and mindfully healthy fats. Principle number 2, focus on balance. When we say balance, we mean, does every meal and snack you consume throughout the day contain a carb, protein, and fat? Pairing each meal and snack with all 3 of these macronutrients will help keep you fuller for longer. Principle 3, limit the added sugar, which we should have all seen coming at this point. Remember, the AHA recommends no more than 6 teaspoons for women and 9 for men. It's not surprising. Sugar is super addicting and feels hidden in almost every food product. But now you're more aware at least. All right, so let's take a minute to discuss some of your frequently asked questions. Number 1, what should I eat around my workout? Fueling around your workout to gain muscle, lose fat, increase energy, or really any health and fitness related goal is really important. So aim to have healthy carbs and protein before and after your workout. If you don't put gas in your car, you wouldn't expect it to get very far, would you? Then you don't want to run your body on E either. A good recommendation for a pre-workout fuel is something like an applesauce pouch and an HSN egg muffin. A good recommendation for a post-workout fuel would be something like non-fat Greek yogurt with a handful of mixed berries mixed in. All right, I don't love veggies. What should I do? We have heard this so many times, and maybe you're someone who feels this way. But we want to challenge you and ask, what if you just haven't found the way you like them yet? Maybe you need to try something like roasting your veggies for a nice crunch rather than something more like that gives you more of that mushy veggie consistency. Maybe you need to experiment with your seasoning and find a flavor you can really be excited about. And even finding ways to sneak them into recipes or smoothies to kind of hide them away so that you're still getting them in, but maybe not so focused on having the veggie by itself. And then lastly, where should I start? This is obviously a really great question. We want you to start with just one thing at a time. So maybe it's something you already have in mind, or maybe it's one of the things that we talked about here today. But the best and fastest way for you to reach your goals is to work on one thing with a nutrition coach and build that individualized plan just for you. So here at Dun, we focus on that habit-based approach to create an individualized plan that works just for you. We work together, utilizing our many tools and resources to build your nutrition foundation to create that sustainable plan. Along with our tools and resources, we know how important support and accountability is when it comes to your long-term goals, which is why we will be there to help you, to guide you and tweak your plan every step of the way. I'm sure you've seen these faces in and around the gym. Cheryl says, I've lost 16 pounds in 2 months. I'm trying new foods, I'm reading, and I want to start meditating, and most of all, stay focused on my diet. So you can see that we focus on the whole person. Of course, diet and exercise are critical components to your success, but we'll also be taking a look at things that don't get as much attention, things like stress and sleep. They don't get as much attention, but they do impact your results. All right, so we're really excited to announce that we have a nutrition and coaching accountability program that's going to help you. We're opening up just a handful of spots. I think we have about 5 of them. And here's what they look like. You work with a coach to create your plan. You check in weekly, and we keep you accountable to discuss your progress and tweak your plan along the way. If that sounds like something that you might be interested in, I really encourage you to scan this barcode and schedule your free intro session so that we can learn more about you, talk about your goals, and see how we can help you achieve them. Thanks so much for joining us today as we talked about sugar and sweets. We hope you found this information helpful, and we cannot wait for you to join us next time.